world, how's it going? Azren here. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to be extremely, overly probably energetic or a little bit more energetic than usual today because I just finished a 2-hour or maybe 2.5-hour live stream. Live stream on Instagram, and literally, I don't know why, I've learned this about myself. Live streams get my energy really high to the point where, losing my balance, to the point where afterwards, it's actually interesting, I'm on this emotional high and then it's almost like I get really exhausted, kind of. Let's jump into the video. Want to talk about tips for beginners in a language. So often I get this question sometimes, which is like, Azren, I'm a beginner in this language, I'm really struggling, what should I do? And I thought I'd just share a couple of general pieces of advice. Now, number one, this is not new, I say it all the time, you guys have heard this 1,000 times, but I'm gonna say it again because it's super important, and the work ethic matters, right? You literally, if you're not studying a regular amount per week, I always look at it like 15 hours a week, somewhere in that range, that's what I look at. I understand there's different dynamics, you're busy, blah blah blah, but somewhere in a ballpark, I mean, even if it's 5 hours a week, I mean, even that is better than zero, but if you've got to be studying a consistent amount per week, and you got to do that for a number of years. That is first and foremost. Don't worry too much about strategy, don't worry too much about, in the beginning, what method you're doing. I want you to get in the habit of putting in the work first, then we can worry about strategy, then we can worry about working smart. But first, you've got to get those hours and you've got to figure out the work ethic, because if you can't figure out the work ethic, we got a problem. You could pick the best strategy in the world, but if you don't put the hours and the work into that best strategy, that strategy is not going to work for you. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get you in the habit of actually putting in the hours and actually putting in the work that it requires to learn a language. Number two, once you've actually started putting the hours in, you've got the habit of doing that, you're consistently working at the language, now we need to start looking at, okay, what part of the language are you struggling with the most? We need to start looking at that and have a real look to go, okay, you're struggling with this, you're struggling with listening, you're struggling with writing, what are you struggling with? And depending on what you're struggling with, we need to take a very different approach. For instance, let's say you're in a language class and you are struggling with passing grammar tests. Your focus with a tutor or on your own or whatever it is, you probably should be doing a lot of worksheets. You probably should be studying the grammar. You probably should be practicing, asking your teacher to help you understand the grammar. Probably should be watching videos on YouTube to help understand the grammar. You should be writing practice tests at home, so looking them up on the internet, finding practice tests, writing the practice tests. That should be your major approach, because your major struggle is passing tests in school. Whatever you're doing, it has to be very targeted to the thing you're struggling with most. Now, the other thing, you have to keep this in mind as well. It's not just the right strategy, it's not just the right work ethic, but the other thing, and this is important, you need to remember, what is your year-end, what is your overall goal in the language? Because the fact of the matter is, listen, you could have the work ethic, you could pick some great strategies, but the fact of the matter is, if you do not understand at a very clear level, this is where I want to get to in a language. I want to be fluent. I want to be able to hold a conversation. I want to pass my classes by 3 years of high school. I want to major in the language in university. Well, you got a problem. If you don't know that, problem number one, when the hard times hit, because you will hit challenging times, that's what happens in languages, you won't know why you're doing it, you won't know what the overall goal is, and you will get demotivated. It's just reality. The other problem is that, actually, interestingly, your strategy should tie directly to what your overall goal is. Let me explain. Let's say your overall goal is to get a university degree. You want to get a university degree in French, okay? That's your goal. Let's pretend right now you are in grade 12, okay? You're in grade 12, you're studying French, you're going to have a 4-year university degree in French. Listen, you might go, okay, you might go, speaking is my weakest point. However, I'm going to work on the writing on purpose, because the overall goal is for me to get a university degree in French, and then for a university degree, writing and reading is more important than the speaking. So even though the speaking is your weakest point, and naturally you might think, oh, I should work on the speaking, well, no. Your overall goal is to get a degree, so why the heck are you working on the speaking? You didn't say your goal is to be able to speak, you said your goal is to be able to get a degree. that's the case, you got to push the speaking to aside, and you got to actually work on the reading, writing, because that's what you're going to need for your university degree. You might choose later to work on speaking, but if the primary goal is to go get a degree, and that's why you're learning a language, probably should be focusing on the reading and writing, because that's what's going to get you the grades to get the degree. That's kind of some thoughts. I think overall it's probably some tips for everyone, whether it's beginners, intermediate, advanced, whatever it is. But I do want to target this specifically to beginners, only because I feel like once people have hit the intermediate, and once you've hit that advanced, I think a lot of people start to realize this as they're studying the language, and they start to learn a lot of this by doing. But I think when you're in the beginner stages, I think a lot of this doesn't occur to you because you don't have the experience. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Bye for now.